After I turned 60, something shifted. I started walking away from certain people, not out of anger, but for peace. I'm 62 now, and I've spent most of my life surrounded by people throughout work, family, business, and friends. But over time, I started realizing that some people weren't adding value to my life. They were actually draining it. And so I made a choice, one that's given me more peace of mind than I ever expected. If you ever felt drained by certain relationships, but weren't sure why, hit the like button and subscribe. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is acknowledge what we already know deep down. Welcome to the Unretired, where you're not done, but you're finally doing what you want. Whether you're building your plan already or already living it, this is your guide to rethinking, reshaping, and reimagining the next chapter, not by chance, but by your choice. Okay, let's get into the different types of people that you want to avoid in retirement. Number one, the constant complainers. Here's one type that took me years to recognize. People who complain all the time. You know them. Every conversation starts with what's wrong. The weather, their job, the family, the government, and their health. There's always a problem, but never any interest in solutions. Research actually says that exposure to chronic negativity and therefore stress for just 30 minutes can actually wreak havoc on your mind and your body. Literally, chronic complaining damages your brain. I don't want that. The important shift for me came when I understood that chronic complainers aren't looking for solutions at all. They're looking for an audience, a person with whom they can share their stress and their problems. I mean, look, there's no problem with sharing problems every once in a while, but it's the frequency that's the problem. And at age 62, I decided my emotional bandwidth was way too valuable to spend on people who just drain me without adding anything back. The second group of people that we want to avoid in retirement are the subtle underminers. This one kind of surprised me. These aren't obvious enemies. These are the people who offer backhanded support, passive-aggressive comments wrapped in concern. For example, "Oh, you're not really going to wear that, are you?" Or, "I'm sure you'll figure it out eventually." Or, "That's interesting." Avoid those people. Psychologist Dr. Susan Forward describes this kind of manipulation as emotional blackmail. It's a powerful form of manipulation where individuals close to us use fear, obligation, and guilt to control our actions. In her book, Emotional Blackmail, she explains how these tactics can leave us feeling diminished and questioning our own judgment after interactions. What's insidious about subtle underminers is that they're really hard to pin down. You can't point to any single comment as obviously wrong, but you leave every conversation feeling a little bit diminished and having less energy. During my retirement, I had time to reflect on which of my relationships energized me and which kind of left me feeling depleted. There's a clear pattern that certain people consistently made me second guess myself, not through direct criticism, but through 1,000 tiny cuts. If someone makes you feel smaller after every interaction, it's time to step back. Life's way too short to spend it around people who dim your light. Conversely, those who fill you up and energize you, hang out with them as much as possible, which leads to the third type of people that we want to avoid in retirement. And these are people who only remember you when they need something. Everybody has these people in their lives. Radio silence for months. Then all of a sudden, they need advice, a favor, or a connection. Conversation is all about them, their problems, their needs. And when it's over, you don't hear from them again until the next crisis. This article by Michelle Liu describes these individuals as emotional vampires. I just love the visual thinking of emotional vampires. And these are people who consistently drain your emotional energy, leaving you feeling depleted after every interaction. They often take more than they give, creating one-sided relationships that can be emotionally exhausting. You know the type. Radio silence for months, then out of nowhere, they need a favor, a referral, or help with a pitch deck. For me, this was about an old college friend named Megan. Every time she reached out, it was all about her and when she got what she needed. I wouldn't hear from her again for months. Eventually, I realized it wasn't a friendship. It was an extraction. It was a transaction. So I set some boundaries and stopped giving more than I got. After 60, you realize real relationships are mutual. There's give and take, interest in each other's lives, and genuine care that goes both ways. And that makes me curious. What's your policy on one-sided relationships? Have you found yourself always being the one who reaches out? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And sometimes just naming these patterns helps us see them more clearly. The fourth group to avoid, the always busy folks who never show up. The people who are always too busy. They're enthusiastic about making plans. We should definitely get together. Let's grab coffee soon. But when it comes time to actually follow through, there's always something. There's work, family, travel. The enthusiasm fades, there's always something coming up as the calendar opens up. You start realizing that you're always the one initiating, adjusting, and making room for them. And eventually it's not resentment you feel, it's clarity, because people show you what matters to them by what they show up for. Dr. John Gottman, known for decades of relationship research, found that turning towards small bids for connection is a major predictor of healthy, lasting relationship. When someone consistently misses those moments, even the small ones, it chips away at trust and closeness. At this stage of life, I pay more attention to people's patterns than their promises, because energy flows where attention goes. And when the attention is never with you, it might be time to stop chasing it. Which leads to the fifth group that we want to avoid in retirement, and those are the old identity enforcers. These are the people who knew you years ago and insist on keeping you frozen in some old version of yourself. They bring up old unflattering stories, old mistakes, old ways of being. They resist or undermine any growth or change you've made. You've always been like this. Remember when you used to, or I like you better when you were. The famous psychologist Dr. Carl Jung wrote about the concept of individuation, which is the lifelong process of becoming who you're meant to be. Some people in your life benefit from keeping you small, predictable, or stuck in old patterns or old memories of what you were like 20, 30, 40 years ago before you grew as a person. Growth makes some people uncomfortable, and that's not your job to fix. You know, if these relationship patterns sound familiar, I'd love to have you as part of our community. Please subscribe for more conversations about navigating life after 60 with wisdom and authenticity. Each week I share insights about creating the relationships and the life that you truly deserve, because at this stage, we get to choose who belongs in our story. Number 6, the energy vampires. There's one more type I learned to recognize, and these are the energy vampires. These are the people who leave you feeling emotionally drained after every interaction, though you can't always pinpoint why. They might not fit into the other categories, but something about their presence consistently depletes you. According to this article from Healthline, energy vampires are people who feed off other people's energy and leave them feeling exhausted and overwhelmed. Sometimes it's their neediness, they require constant emotional support but never reciprocate, and sometimes it's their intensity. Everything's a crisis. Everything requires immediate attention. And sometimes it's their just sheer negativity, not just complaining, but a worldview that just sees darkness everywhere. I had one friend who would call during what he called emergencies. And when I'd hear what he was talking about, they weren't actually emergencies. Relationship drama, work stress, family issues, all requiring immediate, lengthy phone calls where I provided emotional labor while he talked in circles without ever even taking any advice. After these conversations, I'd feel physically tired, as if I'd just run a marathon. And that's when I realized some people just don't share their problems, they transfer them to you. So at 62, I've learned to trust my body's wisdom. If I'm consistently feeling drained after spending time with somebody, that's valuable information, not something to ignore and push through. Hey, what I've talked about in this video hit home with you. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and please let me know which type of person you may want to avoid down in the comments below. So in conclusion, I didn't cut people off because I was angry. I did it because I was just tired of feeling heavy after every single conversation. This chapter in life is about peace, clarity, and being surrounded by people who feel the fresh air, not the storm. The thing I learned about relationships is it should add to your life, not subtract. They should leave you feeling energized, not depleted. They should support your growth, not keep you trapped in an old version of yourself. Sometimes walking away is the kindest thing you can do for both of you. It frees them to find people who are better matches for their energy, and it frees you to invest in relationships that truly nourish your soul. At 60 plus, you've earned the right to curate your inner circle. You've earned the right to peace. You've earned the right to say no to relationships that no longer serve you.